Before we learn about the structure of the DNA and RNA, we will have to know about what they are and their functions. DNA replicates and stores genetic information. It is the storage for all genetic information contained within an organism. RNA converts the genetic information contained with DNA to a format used to build proteins and then moves it to the ribosome. Probably all know the structure of DNA, the long curly strand that you always see when someone talks about DNA, but it's a little more complicated than that. The structure of DNA is often represented as seen in the image. A DNA strand can be divided into subunits called nucleotides. DNA is usually represented with 4 nucleotides and are represented with these shapes. The main unit of the nucleotide is the pentose sugar, otherwise called the deoxyribose sugar, as I said before, and this contains 5 carbons and 1 oxygen. This is then connected to the phosphate group, which is made out of 1 phosphate connected to 3 oxygens, with 1 being a double bond, and finally the 4th or 5th bond of the phosphate is connected to a hydroxide. Then comes the base of the nucleotide. These are what we call nitrogenous bases. Each base has a different structure and is not called the same. The ordering of these bases are really important, as they enable double helix bonds to form, which we will talk about more in this video. Adenine being the first base, cytosine being second base, and guanine being third base, and finally thymine being fourth base. This is a double helix bond, also known as a double-stranded DNA. Here, 2 strands of DNA are held by hydrogen bonds. It is important to note that guanine always bonds with cytosine and adenine always bonds with thymine, and these 2 bonds link differently. Guanine and cytosine link by 3 hydrogen bonds, and adenine and thymine link by 2 hydrogen bonds. Of course, you might have noticed that for the 2 DNA strands to bond, they need to be running oppositely to each other. Now, if we talk about the RNA, it is very similar to DNA. It has the same nucleotide structure, but differs in some things that we will see at the end of this video during the summary. But here, the main difference is contained in the last base. The beginning bases don't change, as they have adenine, cytosine, guanine, but then has a 4th base called uracil. These units are linked through phosphodiester bonds, which are similar to covalent bonds. This then allows them to make a single strand called a polynucleotide. The first bond is formed between the 5th carbon and the phosphate group, and the second bond is formed between the hydroxyl group and the 3rd carbon. To conclude on the structure of DNA and RNA, here are some of the differences you should learn between them. The pentagon in the DNA contains a sugar deoxyribose and RNA contains sugar ribose. Secondly, bases are the same for adenine, cytosine, guanine, but change from thymine to uracil for the RNA. Finally, DNA is double-stranded molecule, whilst RNA is only single-stranded.